So I'm Takunda Bimha, and I'm the festival director for the Johannesburg International Comedy Festival.
And Takunda, how did the idea of the Johannesburg International Comedy Festival come about?
Well, I've been in the comedy game for the past 10 years in South Africa, and over the past 2 years I just felt that, the industry had just grown exponentially over the past decade or so, and comedy on the continent itself, was also on the rise. And I just felt that we needed a property that would connect, South African and African comedy to the rest of the world and bring the rest of the world in terms of comedy closer to us. And, this is in the backdrop of, comedians like Trevor Noah going overseas and making a success of themselves, and many others who are starting to travel, and also the world starting to look at Africa in a different way, from a, art perspective. I think there's a curiosity that the world now has about what's happening in Africa.
The kind of talent.
Absolutely. So I just felt the timing was right for an international comedy festival that would bring together local, continental, international talent together in comedy performance.
And what was the structure of the festival? How was it put together, and when did it take place?
Well, first of all, we partnered with the Montreal Comedy Festival. My partner and mentor, Gregoire Führer, has been running that festival for the past 25 years in Switzerland. And, we'd been working together, and I approached him with this idea of mine that I'd been sort of, fermenting for a while. And they were very excited, and they were like, we're going to support you. And they came on board, and they invested and supported us. From there, we sort of created a model, that would, a model similar to any international comedy festival, but obviously, tailored for the local sort of dynamics, and what we did is for year one, we said, well, Johannesburg is this multicultural city. It's a melting pot of cultures and people and so forth, and we wanted a festival that represented that. So we put together a festival that had 7 different kind of shows that appeal to different comedic sensibilities. So, for example, we had a show called Stand Up Africa, which is a celebration of African comedy that featured comedians from across the length and the breadth of the continent. We had a show called League of Nations, which is sort of our comedy without borders concept, and it had comedians, international comedians from Australia, from France, from Italy, and all sorts. We had a show that celebrated, female comedy talent, both locally and internationally. We had a show called Joke Nation, which is like a talent search competition, with the winner getting an opportunity to go perform in Montreal the Montreal Comedy Festival in Switzerland. We had a show called Fire in the Hole, for example, which is a no limits, no boundaries, no holds barred comedy show. And we had another show called Vernac Attack, which is our local language comedy show, and not a single word of English was spoken at that show, and it's a celebration of the 11 official languages that we have in South Africa, So we had something for everybody, and what we're really excited about as well is to put these different shows with different themes and different venues all over the inner city precinct of Braamfontein and New Town, where a lot of Joburgers don't even sort of get to go to Braamfontein and New Town. There are these precincts in this, that are leading the rejuvenation of the city. So it was fantastic to put an international property, in the inner city like that, and get the people to respond and come to the city, come to places where they would never ordinarily have gone to, some places where people are still saying, oh, it's so dangerous to go there, or you can't go back there. So
people were walking from one venue to
absolutely, people were experiencing, a lot of Joburgers were experiencing their own city in a way they'd never experienced it before. But yeah, that whole thing of people being able to go from one show to the next, walk to across the road and you're in a bar, or like go to a show and afterwards there's a club next door and you go and party, that for me was, the magic was not just in the comedy, it was just the space, the place, and the people, So that was the model. And we were very, very happy with how it worked out in year one. I think it was, people, felt it was very, risky and made major gamble to do it in the way that we did. But there was an intuition and a sort of instinct and a feel that it was right to be done that way, And traditionally as well, just on that point, most of the big shows in South Africa happen in these big casino venues, and I've done a lot of shows in those casino venues. There's nothing wrong with them, but I feel it takes away from the authentic experience, because on one hand people are watching comedy, but on the other they're like, I'm in a casino venue, this is not where I want to be. Whereas this was completely about celebrating the city, and I think that was also a big thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's going to happen in the second festival next year?
Well, I think it's about building on the first year. There's a huge amount of learnings taken on board from this year that myself, my team, our partners will go back and address. Obviously amplify all the great things of the festival, and obviously work to eradicate all the things that didn't work so well, or all the things that didn't work out in the way that we wanted to. But certainly, we did 42 comedians this year in 7 themed shows, but 12 performances over 3 days. We're not going to veer too far away from there, but we're definitely going to build on it. We may add another 1 or 2 shows. We may add maybe 5 to 10 more comedians, but certainly we want to build on the strong foundation we set this year, not get too far ahead of ourselves. This is a festival that we want to exist for the long term, and we want to do everything in our power to make sure that the foundation is solid and strong, and we just sort of build on top of that.